Hey everybody, welcome back. It's a great day. I'm going to have a nice little pipe. I'm going to smoke the navy rolls again. I really did start to enjoy the nuances of the flavor of it. I kind of got used to what the flavor of the tobacco itself was. I felt that the additional flavor started to come out more. Um, But I guess like what else I could do is give a short little update video on just a short little intro update to how the meerschaum is looking after using it almost every day since I bought it, and it came in, I want to say 6 days ago. So far, obviously no coloring, which I think is perfect. I don't really want any coloring on the exterior, so as long as it takes to get through to that, the happier I'll be. But what's really cool and that started happening is you kind of get this like smokiness on the top that I was kind of anticipating happening, just due to how lighting it would be, and lighting it with a lighter or lighting it with a match, whatever I have on hand. I prefer matches. More so than matches, I prefer, I remember whenever I used to smoke cannabis, when we'd light bowls, we had this big roll of beeswax coated wick, and it was freaking perfect. It was literally tasteless and amazing. So I may order one of those off of Amazon, and start using that to light these, because they're really convenient and easy to use, just like holding a ball of, wick and everything. But overall, I mean, the inside is still really smooth. It's definitely gotten pretty charred up with everything I've been doing. As far as smoking is gone, it's still a very, very beautiful pipe to me. I'm absolutely in love with it. Could not have made a better purchase. The design, it's such an amazing piece of artwork. I did figure out, so with the stem here, the way it connects is they did it by like a plastic screw on the inside. And I don't know what the best way to do is. If you're supposed to just take it out, that connection's pretty tight. So what I've been doing lately is just literally unscrewing it, even when it's hot, and I haven't had any trouble with it so far. Maybe it'll be a problem like really far down the road, maybe not. But yeah, so it's literally just like a plastic threaded connector, and they drilled a hole in there with some kind of like screw bit. It's amazing that they were able to do that without the meerschaum like cracking or breaking or anything. Truly a professional when designing these ends. Alright, so last time I think I put way too much of the navy in there, and also it was really, really moist. I've been finding that I don't, I guess, put enough time in between each puff when I'm smoking this, because I'm used to other ways of smoking up to this point. I've pretty much done everything, bongs or other pipes, vaping, cigarettes. And when you do all of those, you kind of want to inhale, you're kind of like really trying to get that rush. And that rush is really kind of what you're addicted to. So it's just like however you can, satiate that need the quickest works best. So, but with pipe smoking, it's like laid back, it's relaxed, it's contemplative. It allows you to sit back and then reflect on your day and think about the goods and the bads, the ugly. But also it allows you to, hopefully make good decisions going forward based on what you're reflecting on currently. But overall, great thing. My wife also got me this really cute, hang on, I gotta move all the tobacco and everything off of it. this really cute holiday themed like smoker tray. I don't know if that's gonna be in focus or not. Yeah, hopefully it is. Sweet. Little farm truck and everything. Pretty cute. So that was very nice of her to get me. I only have one other tray, and I used to use it for like cannabis rolling and stuff like that. So it's kind of got that like psychedelic-ish vibe to it, which is kind of the opposite of pipe smoking. And today, of course, I'm going to be continuing our reading from the Interlinear Bible. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of Genesis I read during my unveiling of my meerschaum pipe. This will be the pipe I'll primarily smoke through all the readings here. So we'll get to see as we go through the entire Bible together, like how the coloring starts to affect this, you know? Like maybe around, Isaiah or something. We might start to get some stem coloring. It kind of depends. I don't know. Every meerschaum's different. This one seems to be pretty thick. So I think it'll take a while for that coating to really come through. If it was thinner, I think that the pores would absorb it and it'd be more noticeable. Personally, I hope it doesn't ever. I hope just the top, like if the whole top could get like this kind of faded black look that it's got going on right now, I would be absolutely pleased. That's exactly what I want it to look like, and I think that would be sick. But ultimately, it's not in my control, it's not in my hands, so whatever ends up happening, ends up happening. So I let this navy roll today, I let it dry out. I took it out at about, I want to say like 1 o'clock. Get out of here, kitty. I'd say like 1 o'clock, and it's like 8 or 9 right now, so hopefully, that's enough. I've heard some people say they let it dry out like overnight, and that's cool, but, to each their own. I just needed it to not be as moist as it was. It was kind of hard for me to smoke the first time, but I will say the flavor of it really still, even right now, has me caught by surprise. I'm very pleased with it. So I think I'm just gonna like hand shred it up a bit and then pack it, and then get on with the reading. Hopefully this will smoke better this time around. Right now, my computer is rendering the meerschaum video, and because I had to do, or not had to do, but because I chose to do the 2 takes where I like stopped it right after introducing the pipe and everything, I had to download some stupid application to merge them together because I couldn't think of an easy way to do it. Perhaps there would have been an easy way to do it if I had just like done a quick program with Python and like OpenCV library. I'm sure I could have merged them together and kept the 4K, but so the Adobe Rush I was using wouldn't let me export in 4K without premium or whatever, so I'm not paying for that. So instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload the full video in 1080. But then I'll also upload the 2 separate videos that are the full video together in 4K separately. And I'll just put them as like a playlist on my channel. And so if you would rather watch that video in 4K, obviously the 4K version will be there. But if you want just the long form content, you're kind of either having a smoke to yourself, not really looking at the video, or you're driving or something, the 1080p is going to be more than good enough. So, good thing to know. All my videos need to be done in 1 take. I'm too lazy to pay for that stuff, so. So when I may have done And now that I'm reflecting on my first Navy roll attempt, I may have put like 2 of the Navy rolls together and then tried to like force them in. You know, I didn't really know, because this pipe is about half packed with all of that single Navy roll. So I may have put 2 in there, and that's why it was so crazy. All right, just have to do. Cheers, y'all. It's a little windy in my building today. Get my tamper here. Knock that down a notch. Oh yeah, getting that rich flavor from the Navy rolls is for sure still present. Definitely a heavier tobacco. Definitely a heavier tobacco blended for the purpose of having a stronger flavor. All right. Oh, the old trusty book. I've always had a million excuses not to read the Bible. I've never read it from start to finish. So we're kind of going through this together. So if you remember in chapter 1, we got all the way up to the 6th day. We haven't done the 6th day yet. But God created man, food. He separated the heavens from the water. And he also had the creepers on the earth. That's right. Oh yeah, and it said we were created in our image, meaning the Trinity. I would infer. All right, continuing on in chapter 2. And finished were the heavens and the earth, and all their hosts. And finished God on the day of the 7th his work, which he had made. And he rested on the 7th day from all of his work which he had made. So that kind of repeated itself. So he finished his work and he rested. And he blessed it on the 7th day and sanctified it, because It was basically sanctified because he rested from all the work which he had created. So I'm trying to piece together the random bits and bobs. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth. When they were created in the day of the making of Jehovah, God's earth and heaven. Interesting. In the making of the day of Jehovah, God's earth and heaven. You know, reading this gives me a lot more respect for translators and all the different translations of the Bible. I can tell you that much. Because how do you decide how to phrase something, how to add more words in? You're like, is it taking away context? Is it going to mislead people? You know, it's kind of difficult. At the same time, to make it like really easy to read. Whoa. Fix this real quick. Okay. Generations of making of the Jehovah and the heavens. Okay. And every shrub of the field, not yet was it on the earth, and every herb of the field had it sprung up, for God had not had rain sent. To the earth, and a man was not to till the ground. So basically I guess what this is saying is like all the herbs of the field and all the plants and everything, it sprung up, even though there had not been any rain and there was no man to till the land to grow it. And a mist went up from the earth and watered all the face of the ground, and formed Jehovah, God, the man, dust up from which the ground, and blew into his nostrils. Oh, this is the creating of man. So what's really interesting about this, the creating of man, didn't he say, hang on, I gotta read back, because maybe he hadn't created us yet. But I could have swore that we were created. Yeah, in verse 27 it says, God created us in his image. In his image, created the man in his image. Our image of man altogether. Okay. So yeah, he had already created us on the 5th day, or the 6th day, it appears. And then this is talking about him creating us again. Well, probably not again, but I guess just giving more context to it. So he formed man, God formed man from the dust of the ground, and blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and became the man a living soul, and planted God a garden in Eden. So God planted a garden in Eden after he had created man by breathing life into his nostrils and giving him a soul. To the east, and put there the man whom he had formed and made upspring. God from the ground every tree pleasant to the right and in sight and good for food. This is really hard to read. For food, and the tree of life was in the midst, and the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil as well. I didn't know that. So according to this, there was a tree of life and a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You don't really hear much about this tree of life. And a river went out from Eden to water the garden, and there from it was divided and became into 4 heads. The name of one, Pishon. It is the surrounding, all of the land Havilah, where gold is, and the land of gold. That's good. There. Interesting. There, bdellium, resin gum, and stone of the onyx. So I guess he's kind of giving some geological pointers as to where these rivers were. The second is Gihon, Gihon. It is the one surrounding all the land of Cush. And name of the river, the third river is Tigris. It is the one going east of Assyria. And the 4th, Euphrates. So, I'm assuming these are directions based on when this was written. We're supposed to know where the city Assyria is, so we could pinpoint where the Garden of Eden was. And took God the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and to keep it. And commanded God to the man, saying, of every tree of the garden surely you may eat. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil not shall you eat from it. Very specific. Not just do not eat from this tree, but surely you shall not eat from it. For in the day of your eating from it, surely you shall die. Very interesting. It is unknown to the reader at this point whether or not the man that God has created is even fully aware or capable of comprehending death in all of its meaning. It does not say earlier the man saw some animals die, and so he was aware of what that meant. I'm assuming in that time God was descriptive enough and probably told him, you're not going to exist anymore. Just as easily as I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Has your mom ever told you that? It's essentially what God is saying here. If you eat from this tree, I'm taking you out. But at the same time, there's quite like a philosophical notion to what God is meaning by you will die. Because if you're familiar with the story at all, he obviously doesn't smite them. when they do eat from the tree later on. I'm kind of spoiling it if you've never heard it, but I think what he's meaning is the death of purity that God had originally intended for man to have. It started the cascading series of deaths of billions of people on the timeline of life. And said God, "It is not good being of man alone. So it is not good for man to be alone. So I will make him a helper corresponding to him." And formed God. God then formed from the ground every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them all to the man to see what he would call all of them, and which might call the man each soul living its name. Basically, God rose up all the beasts of the earth and all the birds, everything he had already created. He maybe single file lined it and had man give it a name, which is really an interesting concept, because up to this point, God had been telling man what the plants were and what they were named, and pointed out specifically the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then he's like, "Hey man, I'm tired of telling you things. I want to test your creativity in the ability to name all of these animals on the earth." That had to be quite the task. Who knows how long that took? How many animals were in this original Garden of Eden that God had created? But it's also a very interesting concept for God to be, maybe in a sense, testing his creation, just to see how successful it was. I'm assuming he knew, since he's omnipotent and knows everything. It probably just brought him great delight to see the enjoyment of his first child, of man, getting to interact with and add his own creativity to this beautiful project of earth. It's kind of like when you have children, you kind of want them to get to be the creative ones and to go out on a limb and do certain things, because you get enjoyment out of seeing them be creative and out of seeing them become successful in the things that they do and the things that they enjoy. So this could be kind of interloping to that point. Continuing on in verse 20. And called the man the names to all the cattle and to the bird of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But for man, a helper that suited him was not found. And made fall to God. Okay, so because he couldn't find a true helper that he really would have connected with and enjoyed thoroughly, God made the man to fall into a deep sleep. And he slept. And God took one from his ribs and closed up the flesh underneath, and God formed with the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman, and brought into her the man, and brought to in her the man. Oh, okay, so he put the man to sleep, took his rib out, reconnected his flesh, made sure he wasn't bleeding out, if that was even a possibility at this time. And then he brought the woman that he had just created to man. And the man said, "This now at last, bone from my bones and flesh from my flesh. For this shall be called woman, because out of man has been taken this." So the man named woman. God didn't say, "Hey, this is man 2. This is man V2, the better version." Adam instantly saw and was like, "All right, what's up?" "I'm gonna name you woman because you wooed this man." I don't know the actual context of the word. Maybe back in the day woo had some kind of like additive context to man. "Therefore shall leave a man his father and his mother and cling to his wife." Now this is really weird. So as you know, up to this point, Adam's named all the creatures on the earth. I say Adam, we don't know that name yet. It's man. Man named all the creatures on the earth, but was not pleased. He still needed a partner. So then God took his rib and created a woman from it, which is really interesting to think, because why would God create a woman from a rib of man when God had previously just taken the dust of the earth and breathed life into it and gave it a soul? Probably because God wanted there to be an ethereal connection between these two spirits he was creating, these two soul encompassing creatures. Because otherwise, I'm assuming God noticed, hey, I rose up all these beasts of the earth and all of these, animals and everything, and you're telling me that it's not a suitable helper for you? That must be because you don't feel that distinguished connection that man feels with another man, human feels with another human. So maybe he decided at that point to change his approach and to craft another person out of this person so that they would be harmonically intertwined forever. It's a very beautiful way to create the first two people. But what's shocking to me here is in the last verse of chapter 2, it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother, and shall cling to his wife, and they shall become flesh into one. And they were born naked, the man and his wife, not ashamed of their appearance." I'm adding a couple words here and there because it's like absolutely impossible to just read and sound like an intelligent person at all that knows how to read. I promise I know how to read, all right? If you read one of these books, all right, these inner Interlinear books. All right, you go online. I know there's a couple websites that have it up there for free. You go online, you read from that, and then you tell me I'm not doing a good job. All right, I'm trying my best here. But to continue on after that little rant, I find it really interesting that the Bible then says like, look, this is the first man and woman, but this is how it's supposed to be. So we're gonna go ahead and introduce a father and a mother character into this, even though they're the first ever created, and we're gonna say it's right for a man and a woman to cling together and leave their parents. You know, that kind of seems like it wasn't really maybe supposed to be put in there. That seems like I don't know the proper term when you're writing. To add in like your own dialogue. I'm assuming there was some kind of like clerical connection there that needed to be presented. That it's good for man and woman to cling to one another, combine in the flesh as one, which is an act of a pact, you know, like marriage, and then you know, be gone from their parents to go out on their own will and survive together. Very interesting. And then it says they were naked, both him and his wife, and were not ashamed. Well, they were the only two people, you know. That's the purity of it, right? And I think the cool thing about that is love, when you're with the right person, love can make you feel like you're the only two people in the room. It's not normally until you're brought back to reality with circumstances around you that you can even realize that it's not just you two in that room together or on the planet together. So in a way, this could be interpreted as like an analogy for God created man and woman, and he wanted them to be in love to the point to where they only see one another. And they're so in love that simple things like being naked won't cause shame because of the, you know, unconditional love that they have for one another being created out of another, and then their flesh combined through the pact of marriage. I think this is just a giant metaphor for like respecting your partner and falling in love and kind of guiding you into saying like this is how it should be done. It's very interestingly written, a very roundabout way to just say that, in my opinion, of course. Alright, and then, let's see, we're only 38 minutes into this, so I'm going to pack this down here, and we'll go ahead and just do chapter 3. I believe, and I haven't looked up the statistics in a while, and if I had my phone on me, which I don't remember how many chapters in the Bible there are. I've done a lot of research on the Bible, even though I've never read it fully, so this is like a great experience. And I wanted my first real reading experience of the whole Bible to be the Interlinear version. I want word for word Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew translation to English words to really get the full picture of what's being said here, so that I can have the discernment going forward, choosing a translation of the Bible to read. If I ever choose to not read the Interlinear, of course. Which is a possibility. Ugh. I think I just maybe am smoking it too fast, or this pipe's always going to have a little bit of a gurgle, or maybe there's something that I could add to the bottom so it doesn't do this. I don't know. Definitely taste the tars. Of course. All right, wonderful. God bless everybody. All right, chapter 3. Just from the first word, we're already getting into the serpent. This will be interesting. And the serpent was cunning above every beast of the field which had been made by God. And he said to the woman, "Is it that so that has said God, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden?" And the woman said to the serpent, this, I'm assuming God told the woman, hey, don't eat this tree. That or Adam told her, surely. And said the woman to the serpent, "Of the fruit of the trees of the garden, from any tree in the garden, we may eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, has said God, not shall you eat of it, nor shall you touch it, lest you will die." And said the serpent to the woman, "Not surely you shall die. For God knows that in the day that you eat of it,